All right, guys, welcome back to the shack. And I'm inside today. It's a little cooler than usual for my part of the country. So I thought today'd be a good day to stay in the shack. I'm still recovering from this chest issue that I have. So far, it seems to be getting better. But today we're going to be designing a file, and a lot of you guys have asked for something in preparation of Valentine's Day. And I had Brandy out here. We were brainstorming, trying to figure out something. She had some good ideas. But I've been wanting to do a laser project and show you guys, because some of you guys that maybe have the Jinmitsu CNCs or some of the other GRBL based CNCs, I wanted to do a file that would work with both lasers or CNCs. And I've told a bunch of you that I make my files a lot of times because I'm more comfortable in Lightburn, and then I export it over into Easel and set everything up from there. So that's what we're going to be doing today. Is I'm going to be building a file for a laser and CNC project, but I'm going to be doing it in Lightburn, which is different. You don't see a whole lot of people doing that. So if that's something you're into, stick around, guys, and I'm going to get us over into Lightburn and get started laying this thing out. All right, so before any of you tell me how much easier it would be in whatever software or so forth, okay. All right, this is what has came easy to me, and it's two birds, one stone, because I can build a laser file and a CNC file at the same time, being that I have both machines and both hobbies. At the conclusion of the video, I will be packaging this thing up, and I'll put it on my Etsy shop if you're interested in it, especially if you're new to the hobby and you don't want to design your files. But if you want to design your files, guys, go ahead and power up Lightburn as you watch the video and follow the steps, and you can do the same. But let's get down to Lightburn and get started on it here. All right, so today I will be using the Atom Stack. My new Atom Stack X40 will be the machine once we get to the point to where we're cutting. But currently I've got it powered down. Let me get a little camera there. There you go. So currently I've got the machine powered down. We're just going to be designing for now. And start off with, guys, I want this thing to be heart-shaped because it's Valentine's Day. So my idea is that if you buy your wife, let's say you buy your wife jewelry, or you buy your wife this, or you get her a gift card or just some cash or chocolates or whatever, this would be a DIY packaging for your Valentine's gift. That's the whole idea. So what I'm going to do over here, I should already have a heart shape somewhere. There it is. All right, so I've got me a heart shape here, and this is basically going to be what we start with. And this thing is huge in the workspace, guys, but a lot of times I'll do that simply to just make it easier to see and navigate it around. So because it's that big, don't think the end product doesn't have to be this big. So I'm going to ungroup those because that's actually two lines. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that one, and I'm going to change this to a cut because most everything we're going to be doing here is going to be a cut. Now, what I've got envisioned is that this thing's going to kind of, for the laser anyway, this thing's going to kind of be like a multi-layered glue up. And yes, there's going to be some scraps, but it's going to be a multi-layered glue up that you'll have to do. And it will use these little magnets right here. I'm going to use them to hold the lid on to keep it closed so that it could be used as a display if you wanted it to, or, pop the top on it. So that's what we're going to be doing. I'm going to go ahead and stretch this a little bigger. And like I said, you can scale down the size of this if you want. Let me check my material over here that I've got for the CNC, because I'm going to make this thing the right size for my material. I don't want it too huge, so because I don't want to resize the holes for the magnets. So let's check that out. So the material that I've got, guys, is going to be 22 centimeters by 19. So we're going to make the file. I'm going to make the file 19 by 19, 190 by 190 for the whole file. So in order to do that, I'm going to need to make this one. Let me draw me a box. So since I'm designing a CNC file, I'm going to create me a little tool path here. And the reason I'm doing this is because this way I know what size material is needed for the design once it's completed. So I'm going to make this little box 190 by 190, and that's the size of the material that's in my machine right now. So once I get that tool line in there, I can kind of take this and figure out exactly how many of these little guys I can fit on this piece of material. Now, to minimize my waste, what I want to do is make 2 of them fit on this one sheet, if possible. So I'm going to duplicate that one, and I'm going to flip that guy over and try to position it to where I can do 2 of them. Now, I've got to keep in mind, no matter what size bit we're going to use later, we may need to leave a little extra room there. So there we go. That'll work. So that gives me 2 pieces for the top and the bottom for the CNC version of the file that will fit there. Now, because they're basically going to be identical except for some depths, since I've got that one in there, I'm going to go ahead and just delete it. And this is going to be the one I'm going to be working from. So this is going to be the back of the object, and it comes in at 126 by 112. So you're looking at rather small. So, you know, gift card size, money size, jewelry. You could make one of these bigger, but like I said, I'm just trying to use a piece of material that I've already got over there, so we're going to do it this way. And what I've also got to have is these little magnets are going to be what I use to hold it together. So I'm going to have to accommodate for them as well. I'm going to take my caliper here and measure the magnet. And this magnet is 18.9. So I'm just going to call that 19. That'll add us a little bit of extra room in there for the glue. So we don't have to drive these things in with a hammer. And so I'm going to make me a circle in the workspace here. And I'm going to make that circle 19 by 19 so that it will show us the location or the size of said magnets. All right, guys, so coincidentally, the magnets that I have are about 4.8 millimeters thick. So that's one thing that you're going to need to consider when you're buying your magnets or picking out the magnets if you use different size magnets, is the thickness of the magnet to be able to recess it between the layers. So luckily, I do have some material that will hopefully suffice for that. And I'm going to duplicate this little circle here and just kind of get these guys lined up. And what I'm trying to do is come up with a way of having these 2 little magnets hold everything together and not interfere with the shape of the design a whole lot if I can help it. This is going to be the back piece of the material. So with this one, it's just going to be flat. But I need to go ahead and work out how I'm going to do the layers. So that in order to incorporate this into the back piece, there's going to be the next layer is going to have to sit and kind of hold these magnets still. So there's going to be multiple little projects here. So I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this one here. And I'm going to move this up here out of my way. And one thing that I like to do, and you don't have to do this if you can remember, is I like to go ahead and let myself know, you know, is it the back, the front, the, you know, next layer or what. So that's going to be the back. It's just going to be a solid piece. And technically, you could go ahead and duplicate that one and make this one the front. So when you start getting ready to laser this thing, you know what part goes where. All right, so I've got those 2 done. Now the next are going to be the ones which house the magnets. Is going to be the very next level. So what I'm going to try to do here is I want these guys here to be evenly spaced and aligned. So make sure I did do this already. All right, and I'm going to group them for a moment so that I can center them off of this guy. So I'm going to hold Control, click that one, and then I'm going to align them. Well, they're already aligned, so that's good. Now, I've got to create a line inside here to make these layers so that this would appear to be, you know, one continual shape. The way that I would typically do this, and we'll try to see if this was going to work or not, is come over here and I would do an inward shape on those, and you can see that it's overlapping these little guys, but that's going to give me a 10 millimeter boundary here all the way around so that I can have some walls on this thing. So I'm going to hit OK. All right, then I'm going to come here and I'm going to do the same thing with these guys, but instead of a 10 millimeter, I want maybe like 5, because this is just to hold the magnet in. And also, I don't want it overlapping these other lines. So I'm going to click that one, go here, 5 millimeters. All right, so wait a minute, that went inward. Forgot to change inward to outward. Outward 5. There we go. All right, here, and same thing there. Outward 5 millimeters. All right, so now what I can do is I can go to this guy here, select it, hold Control, select this other circle here, and I'm gonna go over here and join these two together. That did not work out appropriately. Let's go right here. I'm gonna do an inside offset and set it to, let's see, 10 millimeters should be plenty all the way around. That should work. So, all right, now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this line here and wait a minute. Let me group these two guys here first. Hold Control, click one, click the other, group them. Then I'm going to select this line and I'm going to hold Control, hit that line, and I'm going to join those two shapes together. That is not what I meant to do. I just realized what I'm doing wrong, guys. I need to take this line and this line, and I got to group those. Once I group those, now it's going to treat that as one shape. See, it'll make your head hurt, guys. All right, so you're going to click this one. All right, and then hold Control, click this circle one here. Now it should let me join them. Look at there. See, grouping will prevent you from being able to do things a lot of times. So, and I almost forgot that lesson. So hold Control, click the outer one, hold Control, click the inner one, and then I'm going to weld those two together. So, all right, so I got that part done. So this is going to be the second piece that the magnets can rest in. So let me go ahead and duplicate that. I'm going to slide this out. So this will actually be the first layer on the laser cut file. This will be you'll need 2 of these. You'll need one for the top and one for the bottom. So I'm gonna go ahead and move that up here, and that way I got 2 of those. So I got the back, the front, and the 2 tops. And we'll move the back beside this guy, and the front by this guy. So right now we're at 4 layers, and if we're using 1/4 inch material, just with what we've got here, just to have them snap together, you're looking at close to a 1/2 inch gap that's going to be created in this little pocket right here. But in order to make the gap larger, we're just going to go back and delete all. Well, we just do it this way. This is the easiest way. I'm going to take these and just go in here and create that inward offset of 10. So these will just be the spacer pieces that are going to go in the middle of the design for the laser cut file. And I would recommend a couple of those at least. So on our burn file, I think I want to do, let's see, 3. That's be about 3/4 of an inch. Let's do a bunch of them. I could just copy and paste, but I'm so used to just duplicating. So that's going to give us 1, 2, 3, 4 there. So that'll be almost an inch of space before you get to where the magnets are. So the whole thing is going to be about 1.5 inches tall. I think that's plenty for that. And then I can kind of get rid of this box and everything, because all I wanted that for was just to give me an idea of how it was going to look in the CNC. So now want to split this up here, get it laid out to be cut. So take all these guys right here, but we're just going to grab those, move them over here to the work area, and let me go load some material, and we'll get this thing started. All right, like I said, for this job, I'm going to be using the Atom Stack, of course, the new X40. It will be the fastest machine in the shop. So let me see if I got some material with enough room on a piece of scrap to make this happen. No, that's not going to be big enough. So how much space do we need? We'll use I'm going to use 2 small pieces of material. And this is why I like cameras. I'm going to use these 2 smaller pieces of material to save my big stuff. And what I'm going to be doing is basically selecting these 2 different types of these 2 different pieces of material. All right, so homing the machine, update the camera. The only thing about the way this machine homes is it gets in the way of the camera. So I'm gonna go up here to my screen here and show you this. I got a park location, so I can park it out of the way so that when I take my picture, I can actually see my material. Once I do that, I can update the overlay. And now you can see the materials that I put up there. And I got lucky, and the line between the 2 pieces of material is out of the way. So I think we're good. We're going to go over here to cuts and layers. We'll go ahead and run these at 14 just to be sure. This piece of material has a lot of knots on the backside. So we'll run it at 14 millimeters a second. 100% power. Air assist is on. I don't know why that constant power is on. We're going to turn that off. That must have been a file that I was opening earlier. And then I'm going to run a start on it. So we'll see how this works out, guys. Uh-oh, somebody left I left the lettering on a cut, guys. That's going to be it's going to be an issue. I should have put those on tool line. The good news is that was the first thing it went to cut. So we'll be back once that finishes and it cuts those words in there. I'll recut those. But yeah, trying to make a video, guys, and you forget things. That's just the way it works. All right, guys. So the cut went pretty well. I've got all the filler pieces. They come out nice. Unfortunately, the 2 pieces I left the text in there, and I left the text set to a cut, and it messed those up. And this wood, like I said, it had a lot of knots in it, so I wound up with some little tears and stuff on this material. So I'm just going to recut the 2 that I oopsed on, as well as these. And I'm going to slow it down about 1 millimeter a second just to get through this material. Like I said, this is some of my reject material that I use for testing, and I kind of thought this might be the problem. I might have a problem with it, but it's challenging me more than I thought. So we're gonna set this up and just do the pieces that we need to be redo. And you guys, now you see it happens to me too, guys. So this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna change the speed. I'm gonna drop it down to 12 because I'm not playing with this material. And then I'm gonna take these guys right here real quick, and I'm just gonna turn those to a tool line. I did take, and matter of fact, I can just lose this. Surely I can figure that out. So I'm just going to take that out of there completely, update my overlay, because I did flip the material around. I'll move these guys completely out of the way. And if you put stuff up here, even if it's left to a cut, it will not output if it's completely outside the work area. So, and I'm going to put these two guys on each one of these last little spaces on this material. Like I said, this is some knotty material that kind of got rejected, but we're using it for this project. It'll work. It just may be a little stubborn to cut, but with this machine and 12 millimeters a second, it shouldn't stand a chance at this point. So here we go, back at it again. All right, guys, so those fell out nicely. Like I said, the material, you can see the back of it. Look at that. There's a knot right there. So it was a little stubborn, but slowed it down just a little bit and got it to working. So the next phase, guys, is, and we wound up with some pretty cool scraps. So, you know, if I need some little hearts for something, I might save that for another project. So what we ended up with is I've got my front and my back pieces. Of course, I'm going to be using this nasty looking side right here with all the knots as the back, and then this next layer will set on here like so. And if my measurements are correct, my magnets, especially with this material, because it's really close to the same thickness, my magnets should set in these little holes here and should be pretty tight. I am going to glue them, however, but just to kind of give you an idea, there they are. So they set down in those holes, and what they will do, once I do both pieces, and I'm going to glue all this together, so we'll be doing that here in just a second. I'm going to go ahead and insert, and I got these holes right. Look at that. Fits in there perfect. It holds them without any glue, and they're flush with the material. That's the cool thing about making sure your magnets. Now, there is a polarity thing that you've got to be concerned with, because, you know, if you got them the wrong way, magnets tend to detract rather than attract. So when you're putting these guys on there, you're going to want to make sure, like that one, see that one's detracting a little bit. So I'm going to flip that guy over. One easy way to do it is just put them together and see which side, there you go, see which side actually sticks to the other one, and then just push it in from that side. That way you know, because you don't want to glue those in and then find out that they're actually repelling each other. But when I got them in the appropriate configuration, it holds my two pieces together. Now, it's not going to hold it together with a lot of force, but it does hold them together. So this is going to be my top, and my top where it goes on there. And then I'll have these little guys here. I'm going to stack these and put them together like so. Then these two pieces will go on like that. And then this guy will glue to that. And what it'll end up with is this going to be this really big, thick thing. But when you pull this piece, it's going to be a top. So that's, you know, that's kind of the way this is going to work. So I'm going to glue this up. And then once we get this glued up, while it's drying, I'm going to be working on the CNC side of it. All right, guys, so as messy as it was, I got those glued together. I do plan on spray painting this thing, so I wasn't really worried about getting glue all over the material. But especially with the wood that I use, if you're planning on staining it, you have to be careful, because the wood, where it gets glue on it, it will not take stain the same as it will everywhere else. But since I'm going to paint this red, I'm not too worried about it. So I just gobbed it on there, trying to get this thing done as quick as I could. And got it sitting over there drying now. So you should have saw that process, as messy as it was. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take this file now and package it up for a laser file, but I'm also going to be grabbing some parts from it and taking it over to the CNC to make a box on the CNC with this same file. So let's get back to the screen and show you how I'm going to do that. That'll be fine right there. So that takes up a little bit of room, gives me a little margin of error. I'm going to go ahead and group those. Now, I'm going to save this file before I do anything else. I'm going to save this as one of my laser files, and I'm going to name it heart-shaped box for all you Nirvana fans out there. And go ahead and save that. It takes it a second. It's on a network drive, and it doesn't cooperate sometimes. So now what I need to do is snag the two that I'm going to be using for the CNC file, which is going to be this little guy right here, basically 2 times. So that's the only part that I'm going to need for the CNC. I just need this one, but I need 2 of them. So I'm going to go ahead and get those guys out of there. And I'm just going to put this guy here in the center of my workspace. And then I'm going to export this guy as, let's see, go to RAID, CNC files, SVG. I'm going to change this over to SVG. And this is going to be the heart-shaped box. So that way I can go over to Easel and bring this file in, and then I got to do some work to it there. So I'm going to hit close. No, I'm not going to save again because I already have. And then go over to Easel and open it up. I'm going to sign into my account here, new project. And guys, I know there's a lot different softwares out there that you can use for this, but Easel's very easy when it comes to this. Right here, basically what you want to do is you want to set up your minimum size requirements for the material. And this is oak, and they don't have oak in here for some reason. So what I usually go with is hard maple, because it is a very hard wood. And I'm thinking the 12.7 millimeters is correct. Let me go double check that. So 14.08 is what it said. So we'll just go with 14.1. The material is correct. Now I'm going to be doing 2 different bits. And reason being is I don't want this project to take all day. You technically could do this job with just 1 bit. But there's a couple things that you want to make sure of when you're selecting your bit, especially when you're cutting stuff, guys. I have learned this the hard way. Always make sure, like these bits that I have are Genmitsu bits, always make sure that the cutting capacity of your bit is, like this one's 14.1 millimeters. Make sure the cutting capacity of your bit is good enough to get all the way through the material. And it is. So we'll be using, my roughing bit that I'm going to be using is going to be a 1/4 inch, which luckily it's the same size all the way up, so it really doesn't matter because you're only going to be actually using like a 1/2 millimeter of the bit each pass to do the cutting with, as long as it will reach all the way through. With these smaller bits that are tapered like that, that shoulder can cause you a problem if you go too deep with those. So I'm going to be using a 1/4 inch bit as well as the 1/8 inch bit to go back and do some of the smaller stuff. It just makes things go a little quicker because the 1/4 inch bit can remove a lot more material. So I'm going to go with the 1/4 inch down cut as my primary, and then I'm going to go with the .124 down cut as my detail bit, and those are the 2 that I'll be using. So now I'm going to go over to project. I'm going to import the SVG that we created from that file, heart-shaped box. I'm going to give it some cut settings just to keep it from disappearing. The one thing that you want to make sure of is right here on this shape, the little circles, they're 19 millimeters. So you want to make sure that those lines are still set to 19 millimeters. Of course, we're not leaving that where it is. I'm going to try to select everything this time and move it all up and over to about right there, leaving myself a little bit of a buffer. All right, so the way that this is going to work, guys, these outer lines right here, what I want these to do is on the cut, I want it to cut on the outside of the shape path. So I'm going to set that to outside of the shape path, and I want it to cut all the way through. Automatically, it's going to put some tabs here. If you don't like where those tabs are, you can move them. That's one cool thing about the software. And to me, to be able to sand them, I like to try to get them somewhere where it's reasonably flat. And so I'll drag these guys around and put them in places I can get to easy with a sander. Because if it messes around and puts one right there in this little crevice, that's a pain to clean up in your post. So on this one right here, I'm going to say, because I do want to leave some material beside the magnets, I'm going to tell this little cut right here to just cut out a pocket, which is going to cut inside the tool line, and it's going to basically remove all of this material. Our thickness of the material is 14 millimeters thick. So if I go down to, let's say, 10 millimeters right here, what that's going to do is that's going to leave me a 10 millimeter pocket on this piece and a 10 millimeter pocket on the other piece with a combined 20 millimeters. So I'm going to go ahead and put 11 in there. That's going to take it down pretty deep, and it's going to leave that little pocketed area right there pretty deep. So, you know, that should be plenty of storage for some kind of little trinkets. My material looks awfully small with it sitting like that. I need to move it up to where I can get it oriented right, but we're going to assign all the cuts first. All right, and then these guys right here, this is where the magnets go. And you'll remember that we set those at 19 millimeters. Well, right here, the way that it's got it set up to do, it's going to cut on the tool path, which is actually going to make the hole bigger, because you got to remember the bit is going to be centered on that tool path. So this one is also going to be moved and changed over to a pocket. And when it does, it's going to go inside. Now, our magnets were 4.5 millimeters thick, so that pocket, in order to accommodate those magnets, needs to be 4.5 millimeters thick. So, or deep, I guess you could say. So I'm going to go ahead and change this one over here to clear out a pocket as well. And I'm going to go into the cut right here, and I'm going to change it to 4.5 millimeters also. So that's kind of what it's going to look like at the end result right there. So there we go. And that's just one side of it. So now that I've got that done, I need two sides this shape. So I'm going to go ahead and select everything in here, and I'm going to group those guys together. That way I don't move anything. And I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to put it as close to the edge as I can get it up here. And then I'm going to copy it and Control V and cut another one. But in order to have both of them here, I'm just basically going to rotate this one around 180 degrees and have it here. I hope I did my measurements right, guys. Ooh, that's close. It's real close. Which my material is actually bigger than what I set it as, slightly. So, all right. So that's showing that it's going to fit. If my bit falls off on the outside, I'm not worried about it. As long as the product itself doesn't fall off, I'm good. It can get a little sketchy sometimes when you go outside the material. But those are the two parts to the design that I am wanting to do. 190 by 190, that is the size of my material. It is 14.1 millimeters thick. And so all of this little preview here should be proportionate to what the finished product is going to look like. The first bit that goes through here is going to remove the bulk of all this heavy lifting that needs to be done. You can actually go back and it will simulate the tool path for you and just kind of shows you what the machine's going to do. That's going to be, I'm guessing, the larger roughing bit. It's going to go and do those pockets, and we'll see we'll see if it uses that bit or the smaller one for the cut. It would actually make me be able to go a little bit deeper with my cuts, I think, if I used a smaller bit. But like I said, I'm still kind of new to this, and yes, it's going to take a while for the settings that it's got. So you're looking at 3 hours for this thing to cut out, guys. So this video is not going to be 3 hours long. I'm going to let this run, and then I'll pick up. That's the beauty of video. I'll pick up later, and once it gets near completion, and show you. So, yep, there's what we're doing. And then it is going to use the second bit for the cutout. So that's good. That's what I wanted, because the smaller the bit, the faster I can cut and not, have to go so slow. So that's good. So we got it ready. So I'm going to go ahead now and get the machine set up And what I'm going to be doing, guys, is I'm going to be orienting the bit on the corner of the material and sending the file. That's a whole nother video, but I just want to kind of show you how you can take a Lightburn file and make it into a CNC file. So let me... Alright guys, so the videos ran a little lengthy and I decided that we'd skip all the final prep. Of course, everything had to be sanded and finished and all that good stuff. You got to see a little bit of it there. Hindsight, guys, I was trying to make this video and I thought what I had here at the shack was going to be sufficient. Hindsight, don't use these magnets. Go ahead and get the rare earth magnets that are really strong. These do not hold as well as I would like. I mean, they do work. This is the laser cut one that I did. And it does work, but the adhesion that I'm getting is a little subpar. So may go back and try to find me some better magnets and just kind of dig those out of there, drill those out of there or something, and replace those. Because I do plan on doing a later video on maybe like some engraving or something for this for Valentine's Day. And also the wood one, and this was a scrap piece of wood, so no harm, no foul on that. But it stays together. I mean, the magnets hold it, guys, but any kind of like real bad shaking and the top comes off. Okay, so these magnets are a little crummy, but as you can see, the product turned out the way I intended it to. I just chose poorly on the magnets, so don't do that. But I was just trying to make a video with what I had here to avoid having to make the trip to town. But I will be picking up some magnets from Hobby Lobby or something that are a lot stronger, because if I had rare earth magnets, this thing would snap together and be almost as if it was made together. One more thing that I could have done before somebody points this out to me is on the CNC, I could have done a lip and a kind of an indention to where when you put the box together, it would keep it from sliding. That is something that you could do with the CNC and you know, make it even more finished. But I wanted it to be comparable to the file that we did with the laser, and that way I could kind of show you this is the same file, guys. Like, one's cut with a laser and one's cut with a CNC, so two worlds collide. And I got lucky also, the polarity's right, that I can actually stick the top of one to the top of the other one. I got lucky on that part. I did not plan that. But so you could even take, if maybe I'll get lucky again here, and put the wooden top on the laser cut box. So like I said, magnets needed to have been stronger. But other than that, guys, the whole reason for the video was just to show you guys that if you want to get into the hobby CNCs, little small CNCs, baby CNCs as Steve calls them, they're pretty handy. You can make a lot of stuff out of them. And once, even if you're intimidated by the software, if you use, especially Easel, you saw how easy Easel is. And I know I've got Vectric too, V-Carve. It's a lot more complex, but for beginners and somebody starting out that is familiar with Lightburn, it's kind of hard to beat. I mean, to be honest with you. So that's what I learned how to do it with. And then once I got comfortable with Easel, I moved over into V-Carve to do some more complex things, because there's things that you can't do with Easel that you can do with V-Carve. But guys, I hope this helps you out. If you've been on the fence about whether or not you could, as a laser engraver hobbyist, be able to create things for CNC, I hope this answers the question for you. Like I said, I will drop this file in my Etsy shop. If you do purchase it, keep in mind, if you don't have the exact same magnets, which please don't use these magnets, you could have to ungroup it and resize the diameter of the magnets for your design. That probably is a pretty common size for magnets, I would guess. But, resize 4 holes and you're good to go. So if before anybody asks, yes, I'll put it in my Etsy shop as both a CNC file and as a laser file. But anyway, so until next time, guys, be safe and have a good day.